Good afternoon, and thank you for clicking on my video. Really do appreciate that. But we could be getting into a stock market bloodbath this week with all of the data releases that are coming out. I showed you guys those monthly charts over the weekend that were really showing how we could go into a bear market in 2024. We could experience a crash in 2024 and not be able to build back up for years to come. So it is a point right now to be cautious. But how could this market be a bloodbath this week? And that's what we are going to talk about as we get into some technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, NVDA, AMD, and we're going to add Meta in there because we gave you guys those weekly ranges. Let's get into it. Starting off with the SPY, we do see this price action here, kind of that just slight sell-off, just profit taking at this point. We really want to pay attention to the hourly now. The 30-minute just looking a little bit on the flat side, just now curling up into positive territory, but this isn't necessarily enough strength to get me too excited. So I'm switching over to an hourly. Looks like we could in the near future see that push up and then drop back down. So this is going to bring up our first point, which is tomorrow we do get the GDP. And the GDP has been a positive thing for the market for the past few times. It is expected to come out positive again. And if we're able to beat on that, we could see that positivity. So the real bloodbath that is coming this week is because of these data drops. And we actually have this bloodbath that could probably go into next week with Jerome Powell talking in Congress. So the fact of the matter is we could be seeing some kind of trap in here with some sell-offs, get the bears a little bit excited when this is not necessarily a dramatic selling, right? This is a controlled profit taking at this point. And we actually could be looking at good numbers where this begins the bloodbath and the bears are trapped. And then we want to go trap the bulls next. Those daily ranges we need to pay attention to: 510.07 to the upside and 503.77 to the downside. If you're new to this channel, these ranges here are all that the options market has expected for tomorrow. So this is what we should expect for tomorrow. We have lasted, we've gone in between these, right? We've landed in between these plenty of times throughout the week, this week and last week. So you do have that 68% chance when you come out of it that you do land within it. But I'm starting to think that we're going to see one of those 32% chances where we start to run up, we get some kind of retest, and we might just keep going. Now, once we're up in this area, we're going to want to look out for that divergence here on the SPY. Now, the other scenario is we come out as bad news for the market and we're able to climb down to the bottom. So we really want to pay attention to 503.77 kind of as our target for any kind of downside. If there is some dramatic selling early on in the morning, look for some kind of bounce. We do have a lot of support in this area. We have these highs up here. Going all the way back, we do have these highs, so we have a lot of support in this area, and this is where I thought we would get trapped on the bear side this week, which was down in this area right here. So we're actually seeing how we almost completed this cup. Now, maybe a hint here is we didn't fully complete that cup, and we were able to see that buying back up by the end of the day. So we really need to pay attention to these things, but a bloodbath in the market is coming because once we start to see fluctuations in price, we can see big traps, and then once the bulls actually get trapped, we can see something really bad for the market. And those three things you really need to pay attention to are going to be PCE, Jerome Powell talking next week with Congress. That could be huge. And then if it goes to the last one, really pay attention to CPI. But it really looks like we are about to see a topping out in this market in the month of March. The Qs, we see a similar thing, but the upside for the daily is going to be that 441.01 to the upside and 434.23 to the downside. The thing with this is the monthly expected move, the top side of that is right here, this yellow line. So if we do get outside of that, Thursday, we do have that chance to come back in it. I really think that we are at least going to come and test one of these daily ranges, maybe even test both. We do that some of the time where we come down into an area, get that fake out in the morning, and then we actually see that positivity come in. Really what we were paying attention to is this cup being able to be filled up, and then we get some kind of handle to then head higher. So wouldn't be surprised at all with Apple making the move that it's doing, which we're going to go over in a second, but Apple making a good buyback from that area we're paying attention to, and we could see that positivity from Apple continue if that GDP comes out as good news. So still want to make sure that we are paying attention to how the market is reacting to that news. But if PCE is able to tick up the next day, we might have a trap today to the bear side. We might have a trap tomorrow to the bull side, and then we might see that start to drop. So it is a time to say this market can really start to eat people alive. It can really go both ways, and we could see some volatility spikes in the very near future, especially if we start to get to elevated areas before that PCE announcement. Really what we want to look out for on the Qs is some kind of divergence up here forming if we do see that positivity with GDP tomorrow. And then is that going to be a trap then up towards our weekly expected move to bring us back down? I really think people could get a little bit excited, could get excited in a lot of stocks, maybe rotating back into Apple at this point because Apple's seen a good bounce. And we have to see what those actual numbers are. But if we are at elevated levels when that PCE comes out, good chance that we're going to see a bad reading there and see that momentum giving us that hint up front, especially when the CPI came out hotter than expected. If the PCE follows suit, we could be in for a rug pull as far as Thursday goes. And Apple, this is what I was just talking about. We've been talking about this zone, and look at that. Look at that. Come on, guys. If you're subscribed and you like this content, please leave a like on this video. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe, and maybe even think about it. There's plenty of ways to donate to this channel. There's a donation button. There's also a course that can teach you how to trade in a bear market and even give you a bear market strategy. So the info in that course will be useful all around, but we even give you a strategy for a bear market to follow in that course down below. And then as always, if you want the expected ranges that we've been talking about on the SPY and Qs, if you want those expected ranges for the weekly side, for each stock that we do cover on this channel, $7 a month. You know, all it costs is pretty much a cup of coffee to get better info and start trading a little bit better with those risk ranges. So Apple, the cool part here is what were we talking about, right? If we fall down to here, we want some kind of touch in this zone, and look at that tiny, tiny touch in that zone, and we see that start to explode. We get that divergence to confirm on this hourly here, and we actually could be heading up to our sell-off zone. And this is what I'm talking about when I say it could be a bloodbath, right? Plenty of people saw this trend break. We saw it break again. We saw this low break, and guess what? We get bearish most likely right here, and we see that buy up. This is a trap right here. So now we have to see, are we going to see some positivity with this move, getting into positive territory to then trap people in this zone where we see a sell-off, So this is really trapped between two zones, sellers up here, buyers down below. We have to see whether or not Apple is going to be able to take out one of these zones for us to either get bullish or get bearish. Amazon seeing that slight selling come in, mainly just profit taking. We were looking for this cup to fully complete and then create the handle. We did it a little earlier, which opens the door for this being a higher low. So really want to pay attention tomorrow. If that news does come out as good for the market, does it come and touch the point between these highs? And that's the good part about having those risk ranges for these individual stocks when you are trading them throughout your week. And that's why I want to really push people to go to that Patreon. It's very useful info, and I'm even going to add a Wednesday video where I go through the risk ranges for only my Patreon people, and we get to see what probabilities we can come up with for possible trades going through till Friday. So really what I want to pay attention to here is this MACD able to curl up in positive territory means more positivity can come. Will that create some kind of small divergence? If we just get a day's worth of price action and we're able to see that turn back up and get some point of divergence up here, it could be a signal that the momentum has weakened, right? That means the momentum is weakening. And if we do get some bad news with the PCE ticking up, we could see this dropped. Now, if that PCE is not at that bad of news, we could see this base out and go a little bit higher. Then I want to pay attention to the Congress, right? I want to pay attention to Jerome Powell talking next week. And then if that is also a dud, then we want to go to CPI. But this month, this price action is really adding up to be, I believe we are going to find that top in the very near future, possibly in the next 3 weeks. Tesla, we were watching this on the live show this morning. If you want to join us for that live show, come every single morning at market open. We're watching these stocks, right? We're paying attention to everything. We overall stated that we need to buy up really fast here. And guess what? We did. We saw that push of positivity as we're in positive territory. Look at that positivity. We take out this high, and then we come up to our zone, right? We said this zone is where we need to see those sellers come back in. Boom, we tap it and the sellers come back in. So now we have to see, are we going to be able to fill this gap? Because it kind of feels like unfinished business, but you do have that MACD that looks like it wants to roll over. So not saying the GDP has to be good for the market. We're seeing some things tell us, hey, this most likely will be good news and we're going to head higher from a momentum standpoint. And then we're seeing other things like Tesla say, hey, the momentum's dying out here. We actually could roll over into negative territory. So just want to pay attention to this type of stuff. Be open to flipping, right? Be like water when trading. Just move around the rocks. And tomorrow, our rock that we have to move around is that GDP. And then we just want to figure out which way the stream is going and follow suit. NVIDIA, something that everyone is talking about, right? NVIDIA seeing that big push, and we called this one to the T. And we used those risk ranges on my Patreon to get that info. 825 was the risk range for last week. And guess what? We come up to an exact point of 823.94. As you approach that weekly expected move, you can say, hey, maybe I'm going to take some profit off the table. Look at that. If you were one of those guys that took profit off the table, great profit taking there. Now we're starting to move sideways. We pointed out how important this 800 level, how important this 750 level are, and we're caught in between them at this point. Okay, so you have 800. The reason that this is so important, everyone has calls at 800 or more. So 800 is going to be a very important number. And then at the same time, 750 is where your first put wall is. So if we start to break below 750, these people are going to go underwater really fast as we approach Friday expiration. As we get above 800, if we're able to hold above 800 for quite some time, then these people go underwater and could get squeezed. So we could see a moment here where we actually see a new high with NVIDIA somewhere around that 835, 840 is where I'm paying attention to. If we do see that positivity come in, look for some people to start taking profit up here and then see that bad news with the PCE, because we could see that ripped away really fast. As these people start to get out of their shorts, we could see that squeeze up. And then as they get out of their shorts, we could see it go the other way, kind of a contrarian against those people with those calls at 800. So NVIDIA is going to be something that can really fluctuate. This thing has gone way up. It has stair-stepped up for quite some time. No significant pullbacks in the recent price action, besides maybe this little one right here. So we need to pay attention to any kind of drop that could happen here, because you take the stairs up, but you take the elevator down. AMD looking like it wants to curl up in positive territory. There's your fake out again, right? We're getting tons of fake outs in this market this week with all these data drops. You got one right here early on Monday, right in the morning. We saw that thing go up 2%, drop back off, get back into this flagging here. And then we saw that drop down by 2% and then buy back up. So you got trap here for the bulls, trap here for the bears, and now we're sitting like this. I'm just waiting patiently. I didn't play any of that nonsense because I'm waiting for this MACD to curl up. I'm waiting for that data to come in the morning. If this is able to curl up, look for that to beat this high. Go make a new one. Look out for some divergence before PCE, because PCE can really fluctuate this market, and that's why this market can be such a bloodbath. It can fake out both sides when we have this much data, when we have Jerome Powell talking next week, when we have CPI that could be ticking up one more time in March. If you wanted to break down to lower levels, we have to go with a bearish case as well with pretty much everything. So if you're going to break down to lower levels, we really need to take out this base down here. If we start to take this out, it would be a very good chance that we're actually going to see lower prices in AMD, maybe even all the way down towards this 147. So you want to pay attention to both, but I think over the next couple of days, we're going to get some fake outs that really trap people in both directions, and people don't know which way it's going to go until it's too late, and then it gets ripped away. Meta is what we were paying attention to also, because we gave you those weekly ranges for Meta, and we're noticing that 502.42 to the upside and 465.56 to the downside. And our overall thinking here was get this cup, get a handle, be able to head a little bit higher, maybe touch this point between all these highs here, but also we could see us buy up and then see some wicking down or something like that. So really want to pay attention to Meta at this point, because it looks like it wants to curl up on this MACD down here. And when it curls up on the MACD in positive territory, you guys already know it, that positivity can come in. We can really see buying, right? This is just trickling up, but once it gets into positive territory, that means the momentum is positive and we can see a rip higher. So everything is setting up for some kind of good news tomorrow. Is that actually going to come to fruition? That's what we have to pay attention to, because if this wants to break down, it easily can touch down into here, do a little bounce like this, and then see that breakdown, which we could cut through on Meta pretty quick. A lot of price action we can cut through because of this huge gap. If we start to lose this level right here, we can literally free fall down to this price point, down to this gap fill right around 396, 397. So it is a time to be very cautious. We are seeing a lot of the signals that indicate that some selling is right around the corner, and we do have some big data drops that can really swing us both ways and try to fake us out. And the VIX, the main thing we want to get from the VIX is we're starting to head down towards that gap fill. We talked about this gap fill for a little while now, and we said, hey, most likely we're going to fill this gap before we actually see another spike in volatility come down into this area. Look at this area right here, right? We've seen spike, we've seen a spike, we've seen a spike, we've seen a spike. So this is where volatility comes back in, and look how much this thing is just turning down. This is the fear being sucked out of the market right now. And so if we get even a little more fear sucked out of the market, get people really, really bullish, then we see that volatility come in with PCE. It can mean some very bad things for the stock market. And I don't even have to show you guys the weekly and the daily. You guys know the weekly is about to go into a positive trend with that divergence, and then we have the daily that's already in a positive trend, and we could just see that continue into positive territory, meaning volatility might be here to stay for a very long time, which is why I'm leaning towards a bear market and why you need to take my course. So I know I'm coming out a little bit hot in this video, but really this is game time. This is game time. This is when we can see those fake outs with a bunch of different data coming out, with Jerome Powell talking next week, with CPI coming up around the corner, and it just ticked up, and it's like it never happened. So that is not right now in people's brains, and therefore we can see a bloodbath in this market, whether it wants to go up and convince people, hey, we were right to be bullish, and then right after that, we start to see that ripped away. So really pay attention to price action, pay attention to data, and pay attention to how the market reacts to that data. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really do appreciate it. I hope that you guys are staying safe out there, and I appreciate you guys always like and subscribe and joining the Patreon. We got some new members. Maybe I'll shout them out in the next episode. But right now, I really appreciate it. Join me back live tomorrow morning at market open, and I look forward to talking with you guys there and reacting to the data in real time. Thank you so much. Have a great, great evening, and good luck tomorrow trading. Peace.